Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the tackle?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
After all of the grief the Dallas Mavericks went through for trading Luka Doncic to the Lakers, the Mavericks got what they needed to light up their franchise. The Mavericks won the NBA lottery Monday night to get the number one pick in the draft. The Mavericks had only a 1.8% chance to win the number one pick. Duke forward Cooper Flagg, the College Player of the Year, is the consensus number one pick. The NBA draft is June 25th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. 3 teams in the NBA playoffs have 3-1 leads in the best-of-7 semifinals: Minnesota, Indiana, and New York. Indiana can eliminate Cleveland tonight with a win. Cleveland is the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The other Game 5 tonight is Denver at Oklahoma City. That series is tied at 2-2. Wednesday night, a win by the New York Knicks sends them to the Eastern Conference Finals. A win by Minnesota sends them to the finals in the West. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the flames subside, who ensures that the stories endure? At KBLA Talk 1580, we're committed to preserving the voices that shape our community. We know people have short memories, and as long as this Black Talk radio station is on the air, we will not let Altadena be forgotten. We are honored to announce that the Altadena Historical Society will officially archive our recent town hall alongside every episode of Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr. This is the show of record, the definitive source for tracking Altadena's roots, resilience, recovery, and reunion. These stories will now live on for students, scholars, researchers, and journalists seeking truth and legacy in the months and years to come. Because history isn't just made, it's honored, it's recorded, and it's passed forward. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavismiley.com. That's thetavismiley.com, or wherever you get your podcasts, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, 2 conversations. Up first, John Conyers III on honoring his legendary father, John Conyers Jr., in a new book called My Father's House, an Ode to America's longest-serving black congressman. That's on the top side of hour 2. On the B side of hour 2, So did you know that the hit song La Bamba, originally recorded by Ritchie Valens, had roots in African communities in Mexico? And for that matter, how did La Bamba become an anti-racist protest song in Charlottesville, Virginia back in 2017? We'll talk about it with musician Quetzal Flores, who joins us live in studio today on the backside of Hour 2. In our third hour, two more conversations. Up first,
it started as an attempt to evict the radical group MOVE from their West Philadelphia home. It's turned into what Mayor Wilson Goode calls the worst possible case scenario.
What we have out there is war. And I knew from the very beginning that once we made that decision to go in there, it would in fact be war.
The confrontation began with gunfire just before 6 o'clock this morning. Hours later, the end began to unfold with the dropping of a bomb from a state police helicopter. And Monday, May 13th, 1985, became a day and a night Philadelphia will never forget.
Mike Africa, grandnephew of MOVE founder John Africa, with reflections 40 years today after the bombing of MOVE headquarters in Philadelphia. Mike Africa's new book is called On a Move, Philadelphia's Notorious Bombing and a Native Son's Lifelong Battle for Justice. We'll talk about the bombing of the MOVE headquarters 40 years ago today in our third hour on the top side of our third hour. On the B side of Hour 3.
If it wouldn't have happened to us, we never would have believed it.
Dear God, thank you for this day. For another opportunity to be able to get it right. Another opportunity to be of service to someone in need.
I had so much to say before I started. I don't even know where to begin.
I walked out of Angola State Penitentiary. I kissed and held my wife unrestricted for the first time in 21 years. But my heart was heavy as I was forced to leave my nephew and fall partner behind.
Here are the nominees for documentary feature.
Time. We will not be denied. We will be heard.
It became clear to me in that very moment that to be free is to free others.
And the work continues, nephew. Whether it's today or tomorrow, you coming home.
Big bills that we need passed this legislative session.
This time the board has denied Smith.
The cry that I heard talking about the loss of Alton Sterling. Yes. I know that cry. Yes. You know that cry. Yes. And we know it all too well. Yes. This is the beginning of what is to come.
The problem is the system.
We have nothing to lose but our change. We have nothing to lose but our change. It is our duty to win. To win. To win. To win. To win.
On the backside of Hour 3, a conversation about the next chapter in the love story of former incarcerated couple Fox and Rob. These Oscar-nominated storytellers are coming in studio today to talk about their new documentary, Time 2, Unfinished Business, and why, as you just heard, being free is to free others. In this first hour, two more conversations on the B side of this hour. Amanda Yarusso of the National Lawyers Guild on the curfew crackdown, say that fast 3 times, curfew crackdown, targeting teens across America and how to protect your kids this summer. All that said, when we come forward, we will commence today's show in conversation with the president of the National Urban League, Marc Morial. As you've just figured out, another one of those days, we're going to try to squeeze an 80-pound show into a 40-pound bag. Let's get it started when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
This is an ad by BetterHelp. Think about your mentors and idols, the people who inspire you the most. While it may look like they have all the answers, they don't. But they do know when to ask questions and seek the support they need. In a world that glorifies hyper-independence, it's easy to forget that we're all better with a support system. Therapy is a great way to find a consistent source of support in your life, so you can break free from the outdated belief that seeking help is a sign of weakness. BetterHelp has experienced therapists ready to help you with challenges ranging from anxiety and depression to relationships and stress. It's convenient, too. You can join a session with the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. You can even send your therapist a message anytime something comes up. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/ABCRadio today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ABCRadio.
You really about to do it? 40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music. You really about to do it? Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Who among us doesn't like black music? But Kendrick is right. This moment is so much bigger than music. These are serious times. We've got serious problems, and we need serious people who understand that slogans are not solutions. When you want substantial and sober analysis about things that matter to you and the ones you love, this is where you turn. We're KBLA Talk 1580. And we've got your black.
Baby! Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join the Children, Youth, and Family Collaborative, CYFC, for their 25th annual Foster Youth Awareness Walk on Saturday, May 17th at 8 a.m. at Susan Miller Dorsey High School, 3537 Farmdale Avenue in Los Angeles. This community-centered event brings together advocates, supporters, and youth to raise awareness and resources for foster care programs in the greater Los Angeles area. Please register at Eventbrite CYFC 25th Anniversary Walk. Congratulations to the Children, Youth, and Family Collaborative on their 25th annual Foster Youth Awareness Walk. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting rules for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop, opt out. Consult a doctor prior to use.
Wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing?
I'm sure you've heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, and the other GLP-1 medications, right? Well, I found this great company called Zelfie. If you qualify, their providers can prescribe medications like Ozempic and Wegovy and other GLP-1 medications that are 80 to 90% less expensive, all 100% online.
I can get GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% less and do it all online? No doctor's office or pharmacy?
Yes, Zelfie can provide semaglutide or tirzepatide, the active ingredients in Ozempic and other expensive GLP-1s, but for 80 to 90% less and shipped directly to your door.
How do I get started with Zelfie?
Just send them a text.
Text SKINNY to 323232 to get started today with Zelfie. Get the same active ingredients in Wegovy or Ozempic, but for 80 to 90% less and 100% online. Don't wait. Text SKINNY to 323232 right now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text SKINNY to 323232. That's SKINNY to 323232. SKINNY to 323232.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, the president of the National Urban League, Marc Morial, we'll have on the line here in just a second. A lot to cover with him in this hour. You've been reading the story. We've been talking about this plane from Qatar, this luxury jet gift that Donald Trump is preparing to receive. Well, Chuck Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate, says he's holding up on Trump DOJ nominees, Department of Justice nominees, amid questions about this grift. You heard Connie Rice on this program a week or so ago, one of our regular contributors, talking about what animates this president and what what his goal is in this second term. And there are two overarching issues that she put her fingers on. And the first was the big grift. You recall that conversation? Well, this is part of the big grift. We'll talk to Marc Morial about that, Tyre Nichols, and a few other things as we commence today's program. Marc Morial, how are you, sir, my friend?
Hey, good to be with you, Tavis. Good morning.
It's good to have you on the program, and thank you for your time. Let's make the most of these 15 minutes right quick here. Let me start with Tyre Nichols. I saw, and we discussed this, of course, have discussed it on the program, but I saw your powerful statement from the National Urban League about what we witnessed. I remind this audience once again, bright audience, they already know this, 3 black cops, Tyre Nichols, of course, an African-American, murdered by these 3 black cops, an all-white jury, and they are acquitted of state charges. I saw your statement. Tell me more.
Hello?
Mark, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead, Tavis.
I said I saw your statement about Tyre Nichols. Can you? Okay, Miles, let's fix this, please. As I said a moment ago, we're trying to squeeze an 80-pound show into a 40-pound bag, and that ain't how you start. This is making me work a little bit harder than I want to. Trying to make this squeeze work. So we good now? Let's try it again. Mr. President, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me tell you about Tyre.
Okay. All right. Hey, it happens. Anyway, while we get Marc Morial back on the line, one more again. I was saying a moment ago that I want to talk about this plane. Connie was talking about the big grift. And in the history of covering politics, I have never seen anything quite like this. And, of course, we've said that 1,000 times. If I had a dime, I guess, for every time I said I've never seen anything like this in the Trump era, I'd be independently wealthy just on that. But the fact that the Attorney General and the White House counsel and those around him do not think there's anything wrong with receiving a luxury jet from a nation state is beyond troubling. But this, again, is Exhibit A, and there's a long list of things that one could point to that we see Donald Trump engaged in that speaks to what this big grift is really all about. So we'll talk about that if we can get Mark back on the line here. But again, this Tyre Nichols case is disturbing. I come back to this because Mark made a pretty powerful statement about it when it went down. Mark, of course, former mayor of New Orleans, long before he's president of the National Urban League. And so he knows something about how these issues work. And at one point, I think maybe even during Mark's tenure, New Orleans was one of the most crime-ridden cities in the nation. But he knows something about this sort of big city crime and dealing with police departments. But again, I am still disturbed, and disturbed isn't quite strong enough a word. I hope you are as well, about what it means that these cops got off for the murder of Tyre Nichols. And again, this is one of those things we saw on videotape. Even on videotape, we saw them acquitted in these state charges. So my time is getting shorter by the minute. Marc Morial, talk to me about Tyre Nichols, sir.
Tyre Nichols reminds me of Rodney King, Tavis.
Mm-hmm.
How could anyone acquit those officers in light of the evidence we saw on that videotape? It does not lie. And once again, the criminal justice system has betrayed the cause of justice. Now, remember, the Biden Justice Department, Kristen Clark, and the Civil Rights Division already convicted these guys of civil rights violations.
Mm-hmm.
So they will not walk free as long as a strong sentence is issued against them when they're sentenced in the very near future. But my stomach absolutely turned when I heard about the verdict. And once again, we make some steps forward. Derek Chauvin's convicted. The killers of Ahmaud Arbery are convicted. And in this case, of course, these officers had already been convicted in federal court. But how does this happen? Why would anyone sit on a jury and believe that these officers were not guilty of anything? What happened in that courtroom? What did they see? What evidence did we hear? I just, I'm outraged by it, Tavis.
I saw a report the Urban League put out, of course, under your leadership, entitled 21 Pillars for Redefining Public Safety and Restoring Community Trust. Just top line for me how we, in fact, in this moment, redefine public safety.
Well, we have to redefine public safety. The fundamental missing principle is the principle of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And accountability of officers comes in multiple ways. Number one, it comes in that a department, and this is what I did in New Orleans, a department's own disciplinary practices hold police officers accountable. They're suspended. they're reprimanded. They are fired if they violate departmental rules. The second way is that you have state and local prosecutors who have the courage to bring charges where people's constitutional rights are violated, when there's been excessive use of force, where there's been corruption. On the proactive side, it comes in how you hire, how you train, how you deploy officers. You can have accountability. It takes multiple levers for it to occur. Some departments are doing better than they were doing 5 years ago. Some have remained the same. And on Tuesday, Tavis, we will release a 5-year George Floyd report at a press conference in Washington, D.C. I'd love to come back on and talk to you about that. We're looking at police reform, how far we've come, the work yet, and also corporate commitments, and what this act of stepping back and betrayal is really all about.
Yep.
So that'll be a report, 5-year George Floyd report on Thursday. We'll release in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, so that, for those who are following this story, and I hope that means all of us, believe it or not, 5 years has passed just that fast. We will commemorate the 5th anniversary of the murder of George Floyd on May the 25th. May the 25th. So that day is encroaching rather swiftly here. Let me pivot, and these things are connected, so it's an easy pivot. I mentioned before you came on, of course, that you were the mayor of New Orleans, and you know something about big city crime, and you brought those numbers down when you were mayor of the Big Easy. But this conversation about what happened to these cops, and to your point, they were thankfully convicted on federal charges, so they're not going to walk so long as they get a strong sentence, but they were acquitted, as you mentioned, on state charges. But this connects to Donald Trump's effort, not effort, he's doing it. It's not an effort. He's actually ending enforcement of civil rights laws in a moment such as this. How do you read that?
Well, it's a betrayal, because I don't think the President of the United States should and can pick or choose which of the laws he wants to enforce. And this is what happened in his first term under Jeff Sessions when he was Attorney General. This is just a repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat, the same policy. They'll selectively decide what laws to enforce, and civil rights laws are a set of laws they do not want to enforce because politically they don't agree with it. Well, we should not have presidents or executive officers or presidents of the United States pick and choose what laws they wish to enforce. These laws are laws that were hard fought, difficult to put on the books. A portion of them came on the books after Rodney King. Some go all the way back to the 1800s, and still others emerged from the civil rights days in the 1950s and 60s. These laws must be enforced, and so we've got to continue to call, and this is how we hold elected officials accountable. And when these members of Congress come to see you and they want your vote, ask them, are they going to push, and fight for the enforcement of civil rights laws no matter what?
Mm-hmm. We are clearly past the first 100 days now, and I've talked to others on this occasion, but not you. Beyond his assault on civil rights, what have you seen in these early days that most concern you about the rest of his days?
Yeah, Tavis, is the most aggressive, most assertive, most organized, and unyielding assault on civil rights since the 1950s and 60s. There's never been a president, there's never been a Justice Department that has just been right out there in front of us saying, we're going to not enforce the Voting Rights Act. We're going to undermine the enforcement of the Civil Rights Act of 64. We're going to undermine the fair housing laws. And it's damaging. Look, I looked at the numbers today. America now is roughly 60% white, 40% non-white. That's the population. By the time you get to 2040, there will not be a majority ethnic group. The protection of all people under the law is essential for American democracy. And we're dealing with a backlash. It's a backlash to civil rights progress. It's a backlash to the rise of black electeds. It's a backlash to the election of Barack Obama. It's a backlash to the Biden administration's leaning into issues on racial justice. That is what it is. But I remind people, this last election was a 1-point election in the popular vote. The support for civil rights, the support for diversity, equity, and inclusion remains strong. It's got to be loud. It's got to be resolute. And those elected officials who say they are aligned with us cannot hide.
Yeah. I'm thinking as you were talking, and you used a word that jumped out at me, and I've not heard anybody on this program be so transparent and so honest about what you just admitted. And you used the word organization. You've never seen anything so organized. I want to ask you about that in just a second after I shared this quote from A. Philip Randolph that came to my mind the minute that you used that word organization. A. Philip Randolph, the great labor leader, said, and I quote, "At the banquet table of life, there are no reserved seats. You get what you can take, and you keep what you can hold. If you can't take anything, you won't get anything. And if you can't hold anything, you won't keep anything. And you can't take anything without organization." That's A. Philip Randolph. He wasn't talking about, he wasn't encouraging Donald Trump, but he's making a strong point here about organization. What say you then, since you went there, I followed you, about the way they've come in so organized? I mean, again, dastardly deeds, but so organized.
They spent 4 years and $100 million on Project 2025, 1,000-page blueprint. And then they put the authors of Project 2025 in charge at the White House and at OMB. And then it's been off to the races.
Yeah.
We can't fight this movement without a counter movement and without organization. So there's got to be a counter to Project 2025. Right now, we're in a resistance mode. It's like guerrilla warfare on every single front. But long term, if we're going to bend the policy, if we're going to bend in our direction, and if an election is going to yield benefits, there's got to be a counter to Project 2025. They spent time, and then they got someone elected who was absolutely committed to giving them the runway and the latitude to implement this plan. And that's, it was right there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Some people said, well, they're not going to do it. Some people say, you got to take people seriously.
Yeah.
We can't sit there and make excuses.
Let me ask you right quick, Mark, whether or not I asked this question rhetorically at a gathering last night. Have you heard anything? Do you know anything about anybody on the left, Democrats, who are writing Project 2026, who are authoring Project 2028 right now?
I will say this, the State of the People tour,
yeah.
I just participated in New Orleans, will come up with some plan. It may not be a counter to Project 2025, but I think black folk, we can advance our own plan to some extent. But it's going to have to be folded into something much bigger in order to fight what we have. I mean, we are literally, Tavis, fighting a herd of buffaloes, rhinoceroses, alligators, and rattlesnakes. Mm-hmm. That's how serious this is. That's how powerful this backlash is, and we've got to recognize it, and we've got our work cut out for us.
I got 60 seconds here. Let me close with this. So I was saying earlier before you came on that Chuck Schumer has said he's placing a hold on Trump DOJ nominees, Mark, amid questions about this luxury jet gift from Qatar. Have you ever seen any grift quite like this?
It is the most absolute blatant violation of the Emoluments Clause. It is an act of corruption of unbelievable proportions. The founding fathers were so concerned about this that they put a provision in the Constitution. We are going to see whether the Constitution means what it says and says what it means. Stay tuned.
Former mayor of New Orleans, the Big Easy, and long-term president now of the National Urban League. I look forward to their report coming out on the 5th anniversary of the murder of George Floyd. We'll get Marc Morial back on this program then. Love you, man. Thanks for your time, man. All right, stay strong.
Love you.
More of Tavis, Smiley when we come forward.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. California Governor Gavin Newsom wants to get rid of homeless encampments.
It's time to take these encampments and provide alternatives, and the state is giving you more resources than ever.
He's calling on cities across the state to effectively ban tent camping on sidewalks and parks in light of a recent Supreme Court ruling that allows enforcement against public sleeping. An Israeli-American hostage has been reunited with his family after nearly 600 days in Hamas captivity. Idan Alexander is from the small suburb of Tenafly, New Jersey. His hometown watched an outdoor TV to see his return to Israel. And day one of the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs brought some graphic testimony. Prosecutors were presented with 2016 hotel surveillance video of Combs beating his ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. A male stripper also took the stand and testified he was paid to be intimate with Ventura while Combs watched. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
After all of the grief the Dallas Mavericks went through for trading Luka Doncic to the Lakers, the Mavericks got what they needed to light up their franchise. The Mavericks won the NBA lottery Monday night to get the number one pick in the draft. The Mavericks had only a 1.8% chance to win the number one pick. Duke forward Cooper Flagg, the College Player of the Year, is the consensus number one pick. The NBA draft is June 25th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. 3 teams in the NBA playoffs have 3-1 leads in the best-of-7 semifinals: Minnesota, Indiana, and New York. Indiana can eliminate Cleveland tonight with a win. Cleveland is the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The other Game 5 tonight is Denver at Oklahoma City. That series is tied at 2-2. Wednesday night, a win by the New York Knicks sends them to the Eastern Conference Finals. A win by Minnesota sends them to the finals in the West. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique Dupree Rima with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our Black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It does indeed. We are now in conversation with Amanda Yarusso of the National Lawyers Guild, talking about this curfew crackdown in a number of U.S. cities and how you can protect your kids this summer. Amanda, good to have you on the program. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Good to have you on. Tell me about these curfews in cities all across the country. We'll start there, and I'll follow you.
Well, what I'm particularly knowledgeable about is what's happening in Chicago, and what's being proposed in Chicago is a SNAP curfew, which is a proposal where the police department, in conjunction with an official from the mayor's office, could declare a curfew in the moment at any time in anticipation of something they think may happen that could be harmful or dangerous. So this is a situation where people wouldn't even know when the curfew is until the moment it's declared by the police department. And I and others from the National Lawyers Guild and various civil rights organizations have raised concerns with such a curfew.
And what are those concerns?
Well, it basically, even on its face and undoubtedly in its application, would run afoul of the Constitution in multiple ways. It lacks due process, procedural due process, which requires that people have notice of a law before they can be arrested and charged with violating it. It infringes on people's First Amendment rights to assemble and speech. And it's also criminalizing conduct where there's no actual crime that's been committed. So the Fourth Amendment says that people are to be free from unreasonable seizures, which means there has to be a basis to believe a crime is being committed before you can start handcuffing and prosecuting people. And being able to declare something illegal in the moment is criminalizing something where nothing's happened yet. So there's multiple ways that it runs afoul of the Constitution that people are concerned with. Then there's bigger issues about, concern with the unequal enforcement of it.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Finish your point about those bigger issues regarding the unequal enforcement of it, and I'll come back after that.
Yeah. So, and again, this is also rooted in the Constitution. The equal protection that's provided in the Constitution, which the states are prohibited from denying any person equal protection of the laws, and that goes to disproportionately applying the law to some folks rather than others. And Chicago has a long history of racist and inequitable policing, and this proposed curfew is being done explicitly in reaction to teen gatherings in the central business district downtown. And so it's actually explicitly being targeted to respond to young Black folks.
Yeah. I hear all of that, and I respect all of that and don't disagree necessarily with any of that, but I am curious as to how the National Lawyers Guild would respond to everyday people in cities all across this country, including Chicago, that see teen violence on the uprise, on the uptick in certain spaces. They see these teen takeovers, as you referenced a moment ago. They've witnessed these smash and grabs, and I could do this all day long if I had the time. And if the response to increasing crime in cities across this country is merely to impose a curfew, is that really doing too much? Does it really warrant the involvement and engagement of the National Lawyers Guild? We're just having a curfew to get kids off the street earlier, one, to reduce crime, but frankly, to help save their lives. I see stories too often of kids. I just was literally talking to somebody just yesterday about a young man who was out with his friends until about midnight. They weren't on the streets, but they were at home. He was down the street at his friend's house, and a bunch of young boys playing video games. No surprise there. His mom called and said, "Hey, it's just about midnight now. It's time to get home." So his friends walked him literally a few blocks down the street, walked him home, and on the way home, walking, he's killed. I mean, if he'd been in before midnight, that might not have happened. And again, I'm not suggesting that any of us has control over our movement per se with regard to when our time is going to come. But does it really warrant all this involvement from the National Lawyers Guild if we're just talking about a curfew?
Well, first of all, there's already a curfew in place in the city of Chicago. So this is a concern with a curfew that could be declared in the moment at any time of the day.
Right.
And the city belongs to everybody. It belongs to teenagers too. They have the right to go to the beach and not have to be told to go home at any moment because somebody has declared a hunch that they think something possibly could happen in the future. But more importantly, there is data that curfews don't actually work. So what you're raising is a valid concern, and there's people on both sides of this debate that have the same desire for people to be able to gather safely, especially young people, and also enjoy the city. But the point is that curfews and policing and handcuffing and criminalizing people doesn't actually keep people safer. And there's data to show that.
Yep.
And there are other options that community members have proposed.
To your point about data, let me just share some of that data and get Amanda to respond. So there's an organization called the National Youth Rights Association, NYRA. You can look it up for yourself, the National Youth Rights Association. And they put a piece out that's entitled "The Top 5 Reasons to Abolish Curfews." The top 5 reasons to abolish curfews. And I want to share those 5 with you. Their subtitle of this report is "They Don't Reduce Crime or Keep Us Safe." So once again, top 5 reasons to abolish curfews. They don't reduce crime or keep us safe. These are their 5 reasons. There being, again, the National Youth Rights Association for abolishing these curfews that Amanda and I are talking about right now. Number 1, juvenile curfews, they say, are a violation of young people's fundamental rights. That's the point that Amanda, of course, just made quite brilliantly. Number 2, curfews are ineffective at reducing crime. A recent review of several studies on juvenile curfews found that they are ineffective at reducing both crime and victimization. That's point number 2. Point number 3 of these top 5 reasons to abolish curfews. Juvenile curfews punish non-criminal behavior. I think Amanda sort of inched toward that point a moment ago, that when you do these curfews, kids who are not engaged in any sort of crime get caught up in the process, and so curfews end up punishing non-criminal behavior. Number 4, juvenile curfews don't target populations that commit the most crime, and they waste police resources. 2 separate points there, but all combined into one. You take it one part at a time. Again, Amanda made the point a moment ago that too often there's an unequal application to the curfews, and they end up targeting oftentimes black and brown kids. So curfews don't target populations that ought to be targeted per se. They don't target populations that commit the most crime, and it's a waste of police resources. And finally, juvenile curfews are often applied in a discriminatory fashion. Again, the point that Amanda made a moment ago. So those are the top 5 reasons to abolish curfews, as I read from the National Youth Rights Association. When we come forward, I want to let Amanda respond to any of those 5 points that I just shared, whether she's in agreement with them, if she wants to expound on them, or disagree with them. We're talking about these curfews that are in place right now, curfews that we expect to increase this summer. We are clearly in the era of Donald Trump 2.0. And so everybody's being put upon, including kids, including teenagers. And I suspect it's going to get worse this summer. So we'll talk about how to protect your kids when we come forward. I'm Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The Comedy Connection series featuring KBLA's Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady. We're going to transform relationship disasters into stand-up material live at Inglewood's Miracle Theater on May 31st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My clinical team will disclose all of your dating woes, while the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady, has hand-selected supremely talented comedians to roast all of our tragic relationship choices. I dare you to bring your ex's phone number, because Ray, he's going to text it live, and the crowd will be sourcing emojis. Tickets are moving swiftly, so don't hesitate to grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before I diagnose your dating history as a pre-existing condition.
More honesty than you can handle.
More empowerment than you can imagine.
You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Amanda Yarusso, attorney with the National Lawyers Guild, talking about these curfew crackdowns in cities all across the country. Specifically, she was representing the city of Chicago, where they're trying to change the rules essentially, and they can call it curfew at any point in time. And you have not had any prior knowledge, and you get caught up in it. So we're talking about the ways in which you can protect your kids this summer. It seems it's not just Donald Trump. Everybody seems to be bending the rules and stretching the law when it comes to what they can get away with. And so the National Lawyers Guild is pushing back on this notion that you can call a curfew at any point in time without prior notice, and your kids, I'm talking to you, and your kids get caught up in it and end up with an arrest record. And once that stuff's on your record, then you got to fight on the record of your kids, I should say. You got to fight to get it off. You can see how this can be just a bunch of drama. I was trying to be nice about it. You can see the drama that this creates if something isn't done about it, and these curfews or this change in procedure with regard to curfews is allowed to go into place unabated. So I read that list of top 5 reasons to abolish curfews brought to us by the National Youth Rights Association. Your thoughts on that list, Amanda, and I'll push forward from there.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, like you said, some of those items in that list is what I've already discussed, but you just raised a very valid point, which is not only do we know that adding police and arresting and prosecuting people isn't helpful, it's harmful. Mm-hmm. And some people have even tagged this idea of using curfews as a solution as a curfew to prison pipeline, similar to the school to prison pipeline. The harm done even by a single police interaction are too numerous to list right now, but you've mentioned some of them already. The effect on the record, that can cause a problem for scholarships, college applications, job applications. Going to court requires missing school and work. And it doesn't just harm the teenager who, respect teenagers. They're people that deserve the same respect as adults. But in Chicago, there's also the possibility that the parent could be charged if the child is out violating the curfew. So now you've got multiple people potentially impacted by someone simply being out in public at the beach, at the park, when a curfew is declared.
Speaking of adults, I want to just drill down a bit more on the fourth point that I raised a moment ago. The juvenile curfews don't target populations that commit the most crime and waste police resources. From this report I read, except for the elderly, juvenile crime makes up the lowest proportion of crime altogether in this country. In fact, adults commit about 90% of the crimes in the U.S. And older people, of course, reading from this report, would not tolerate such a strong restriction on their freedom or the targeting of an entire group. But because police officers are forced to monitor, arrest, and process curfew violations, they are unable to direct their energies to dealing with the actual crime being committed by adults, these young people write in their report. And this has led to law enforcement officials identifying curfews as a drain on the police department's resources. When we come forward, I want to pick up on the point that Amanda made a moment ago, which is, given the data I've just shared, why it is that in this country we seem oftentimes to scapegoat the kids. Why are the kids being scapegoated when most of the crime in this country is being committed by adults? We'll talk about that when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like
BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card, so let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything! The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu!
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it!
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. Know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Amanda Yarusso of the National Lawyers Guild. So we started our conversation here, and I've got 3 minutes left. Let's bring this thing full circle. You made the point a couple of times in this conversation, Amanda, that kids should not be treated differently than adults in this country. It's their country, too. I made the point, quoting from this report, that most of the crime, 90% of it in this country, is committed by adults, and yet here is yet another law that seems to scapegoat children. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it's an easy target because it's harder for young people to stand up for themselves. It's hard enough for an adult in a police interaction to assert their rights, and even harder for a young person. And so, and I think it's just people holding on to traditional ideas like teens are up to no good or aren't working hard. But the fact is, in Chicago, you know, kids that are going to school sometimes are busing an hour each way to school. They're putting in long days, and now they've got the summer, and they have just as much a right to gather at the beach and enjoy and socialize. And if adults were doing the same thing, people would never say that we should make it illegal for them to hang out in a group larger than 20 people because something may possibly happen in the future that could cause harm. And when we listen to kids and young people, they have a lot of great ideas, and adults need to lift them up and align with them. And in fact, there's a youth group, Good Kids, Mad City in Chicago, that spearheaded a peace book ordinance back in 2022 that still has not passed, but has some support in the city council, that is exactly proposing solutions to problems of things getting violent when teens gather. And it has multiple provisions in it, such as violence interrupters and various services for harm reduction. And so if you listen to the community and the youth about what actually would help them, because they want to keep themselves safe too, that's when you can actually find a solution that works, rather than something that we know time and time again has not worked, which is criminalizing and policing folks.
To use your word, criminalizing, you raised this issue earlier of parents being dragged into this as well if their kids are arrested in these curfews. What's your read? My read is, let me start with that. My read is that we are seeing more and more states and municipalities adopt laws that do in fact hold parents accountable. I take your point here that the curfew as it is being proposed is unfair on its face. I get that point. But what say you quickly about the way in which we see parents across the country in a variety of situations and circumstances now being held more accountable for the acts of their kids?
I think there's multiple ways to hold people accountable, and people have done some of these examples of just having more of a presence in the community and being involved in the efforts to be there, to just literally sit on the block or be out front of their doors and keeping things safe. But punishment and criminalization doesn't work to hold people accountable. It doesn't reduce the problem. And so all it does is cause harm. And so we just keep circling back to the same point, which is that the reactive solution isn't working, hasn't worked, and we know it isn't going to work. So I understand that it's sort of a intuitive thing, like that punishment will work. And so I think people just leap to that as their go-to. It's an unimaginative approach, and it's something that we know does not work. And we've known it for decades. I mean, criminalizing and putting people in cages hasn't worked for decades to reduce violence and crime.
Nope, about that, you are absolutely correct. And no disagreement there. Amanda Yarusso is attorney for the National Lawyers Guild. Thank you for your time, Amanda. Good to have you on this program.
Thank you so much for covering this issue.
My pleasure. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. California Governor Gavin Newsom wants to get rid of homeless encampments.
It's time to take these encampments and provide alternatives, and the state is giving you more resources than ever.
He's calling on cities across the state to effectively ban tent camping on sidewalks and parks in light of a recent Supreme Court ruling that allows enforcement against public sleeping. An Israeli-American hostage has been reunited with his family after nearly 600 days in Hamas captivity. Edan Alexander is from the small suburb of Tenafly, New Jersey. His hometown watched an outdoor TV to see his return to Israel. And day one of the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs brought some graphic testimony. Prosecutors were presented with 2016 hotel surveillance video of Combs beating his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura. A male stripper also took the stand and testified he was paid to be intimate with Ventura while Combs watched. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
After all of the grief the Dallas Mavericks went through for trading Luka Doncic to the Lakers, the Mavericks got what they needed to light up their franchise. The Mavericks won the NBA lottery Monday night to get the number one pick in the draft. The Mavericks had only a 1.8% chance to win the number one pick. Duke forward Cooper Flagg, the College Player of the Year, is the consensus number one pick. The NBA draft is June 25th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. 3 teams in the NBA playoffs have 3-1 leads in the best-of-7 semifinals: Minnesota, Indiana, and New York. Indiana can eliminate Cleveland tonight with a win. Cleveland is the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The other Game 5 tonight is Denver at Oklahoma City. That series is tied at 2-2. Wednesday night, a win by the New York Knicks sends them to the Eastern Conference Finals. A win by Minnesota sends them to the finals in the West. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the flames subside, who ensures that the stories endure? At KBLA Talk 1580, we're committed to preserving the voices that shape our community. We know people have short memories, and as long as this Black Talk radio station is on the air, we will not let Altadena be forgotten. We are honored to announce that the Altadena Historical Society will officially archive our recent town hall alongside every episode of Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr. This is the show of record, the definitive source for tracking Altadena's roots, resilience, recovery, and reunion. These stories will now live on for students, scholars, researchers, and journalists seeking truth and legacy in the months and years to come. Because history isn't just made, it's honored, it's recorded, and it's passed forward. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Something I've been wanting to tell you for a long time. It might hurt you, hope you don't lose your mind. Well, I was just a boy, about 8 years old. You threw me a Bible on that Mississippi road. See, I love you, Papa, you did all you could do. And they say the truth hurts, so I lied to you.
I'm Tavis Smiley. Welcome to hour 2 of our program today. In this hour, as promised, 2 conversations on the B side of this hour. We'll talk about the hit song La Bamba, originally recorded that is, by Ritchie Valens. By the way, today is Ritchie Valens' birthday. But did you know that this song had roots in African communities in Mexico? And how did this song become an anti-racist protest song in Charlottesville, Virginia, back in 2017? Remember Charlottesville? Of course you do. We'll talk about that with musician Quetzal Flores, who joins us live in the studio on the backside of this hour. We commenced this hour, though, in conversation with John Conyers III, who is honoring his legendary father, John Conyers Jr., of course, in a new book called My Father's House, an Ode to America's Longest-Serving Black Congressman. John Conyers III, good to have you on the program. How are you today, sir?
I'm excellent. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. No, man, it's a pleasure to have you on the program. I of course, knew your father well, considered him a friend, and say nothing of the fact we were Kappa brothers. So obviously, obviously a big fan of your father, John Conyers Jr. Tell me, for starters here, why now, and why this book? Why this ode to your father?
Well, to be quite frank, I never wanted to write a book. As the young people are saying these days, this was a side quest. This book started as a project that started as my father's project. I was the engine in that car, but I did the first interview for my father in 2009, September of 2009. And he started, we found an agent. We had a few offers on the table for the book, and then he passed away. And so when I left the agent that he had and I found my own for a number of reasons, it was essentially, if you don't, their publishers will not put this book out if your father's not here for final approval. And so I ended up having to be the one to write the book. And so that's kind of how it came about. It was much less a desire to write a book as it was a necessary and vital, book to write to honor my father, but also to be the first on record about who he was. The second part of your question about why now and so on is because when you look at, and I talk about this in the prologue, right? And then at the end of the prologue, when you look at the, how we remember Martin, how we remember Malcolm, or even JFK or RFK for that matter, they in that era, they could never have foreseen what media would do and how narratives would shape how we talk about and remember so many great people that contributed to the fabric of American society. And so what I didn't want to happen, especially with so many of my father's pieces of legislation getting their moment in the sun, even though he's no longer here, I wanted our family to be the first on record to say who my father was and who he was not. And so that anything that came after that is refuting what we said. We're not having to be on the defensive and refute what they're saying about my father.
I want to talk as we move forward here about your father's legislative legacy. It is quite robust. We'll talk about that, John Conyers III, as we move forward in this conversation. But let me just ask this question broadly, and obviously there's a much more detailed answer that he would give me, of course, if he were here. But after all the years of his public service, your father, to your point, had decided to write a book before his passing. What was animating that? Like, why, after all these years of public service, did he feel the need to write a book?
Oh, no. We were pushing him. My uncle Nathan Conyers, my mother, myself, we were pushing him to write a book. And so he wasn't, first of all, to be very, very clear, he said, no, I'm not going to do this. And so as the son who understood the importance and who obviously, that's why you have children, right? They understand the times in a way that even though you're living in them, you may not be able to. And so for me, as someone who understood what was happening around him and understanding how singularly focused, as you very well know, he was on the work and getting things across the finish line and moving them forward. I understood the necessity of, one, he was living history even at that time, right? And getting stories from him that only he could tell. And then two, getting that on record and figuring out how we turn this into, a work that not only honors, his work, but tells a history, an intimate history of that time in a way that, I think is reflective, right? When you look at other works from that time, whether it's, Martin's Where Do We Go From Here or any other pieces of, literature that come from that time, they are very much focused on the work that was being done and is not so much reflective on the things. And so I think there was a gap, right, that I was trying to fill while he was here. And we do some of that in this book, but obviously, I didn't live during civil rights, right? So there's only so much of that I could do.
How did, for starters here, and again, I've got a lot more ground I want to cover in the few minutes that we have here. How did politics become your father's pathway?
Well, he grew up in it. Part of this book is honoring my grandfather. Right. So when my father ran for office, he was still little Johnny Conyers because my grandfather had done so much work in the Union. And so my father's pathway to the United States Congress was paved by my grandfather's work at the genesis of the United Auto Workers, the founding of the TULC, which is a Detroit-based labor union club. It's not like a union. It's all the leaders of all the unions. It's a membership club, and everybody who's a member in leadership in any of the unions, whether it's SEIU, AFSCME, they all congregate at the TULC, and my grandfather was a part of that. And so that's kind of how my father's path to the United States Congress was paved, aside from his legal work.
Sure. Just getting started in this conversation with John Conyers III about his legendary father, John Conyers Jr. I mentioned earlier I knew him and considered him a dear friend, and delighted to have a few more minutes with John Conyers III talking about the legacy of his father. We'll talk specifically about his legislative legacy. He is the father of reparations. We talk about reparations all the time. It was John Conyers who first initiated that bill. Again, lots of things on his docket that he accomplished legislatively, but I think the thing that most people regard him for may very well be his stewardship of reparations. And look where we are now in this conversation. Wouldn't be here now had it not been for John Conyers back then. And a couple of things I know about his father that always tickle me, not the least of which is I never went to see John Conyers in his Detroit office or in his D.C. office, and he wasn't playing jazz music. I've never been into anybody's office on Capitol Hill who played music all the time. He was an avid music lover, a jazz music lover. We'll talk about that. And, of course, the best part of the story for me is that John Conyers is an American icon in his own right, but he had an American icon work for him. Rosa Parks worked for John Conyers Jr., and that always tickled me. I teased Mrs. Parks about it. I teased John Conyers about it. John Conyers, how did you get the mother of the civil rights movement to work for you in your Detroit office? More about John Conyers Jr. and his legacy when we come forward with his son, John Conyers III, on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join the Children, Youth, and Family Collaborative, CYFC, for their 25th annual Foster Youth Awareness Walk on Saturday, May 17th at 8 a.m. at Susan Miller Dorsey High School, 3537 Farmdale Avenue in Los Angeles. This community-centered event brings together advocates, supporters, and youth to raise awareness and resources for foster care programs in the greater Los Angeles area. Please register at Eventbrite CYFC 25th Anniversary Walk. Congratulations to the Children, Youth, and Family Collaborative on their 25th Annual Foster Youth Awareness Walk. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
You really about to do it? 40 acres and a mule. This is bigger than the music. You really about to do it? Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Who among us doesn't like black music? But Kendrick is right. This moment is so much bigger than music. These are serious times. We've got serious problems, and we need serious people who understand that slogans are not solutions. When you want substantial and sober analysis about things that matter to you and the ones you love, this is where you turn. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
The Comedy Connection series featuring KBLA's Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady. We're going to transform relationship disasters into stand-up material live at Inglewood's Miracle Theater on May 31st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My clinical team will disclose all of your dating woes, while the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady, has hand-selected supremely talented comedians to roast all of our tragic relationship choices. I dare you to bring your ex's phone number, because Ray, he's going to text it live, and the crowd will be sourcing emojis. Tickets are moving swiftly, so don't hesitate to grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before I diagnose your dating history as a pre-existing condition.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and John Conyers III talking about the new book, it's just My Father's House, by John Conyers III. Delighted to have him on this program to celebrate the legacy. of his father, John Conyers Jr., longtime congressman, 45 years, 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 from the Motor City in Detroit. So John Conyers III, we were talking a moment ago, teeing up actually a conversation about your father's legislative legacy. I've got about 15 minutes here. I want to make the most of it. I said a moment ago that it's a long and robust list of accomplishments legislatively. We certainly know your father for his reparations work. As I said earlier, he is regarded as the father of reparations, and I think he'd be quite pleased with the progress on the one hand we've made. We're nowhere near where we need to be, and so there'd be some frustration as well that this thing has not picked up steam in the way that we want it to at the federal level. As you well know, in states and in cities all across the country, you see reparations gaining steam. And I have those conversations routinely on this program. But just talk to me as you see it about his legislative legacy and where reparations fits in.
Well, I think, so my father's slogan, right, when he was running for office, if you will, his catchphrase that everyone knew him for was jobs, justice, and peace.
That's right.
Right. And, there's civic and social justice, right, that my father was the bulk of his work. And I look at my place in, is his legacy, right? And to be clear, when we talk about legacy, a lot of times we talk about legacy just in name. But the only way you have a legacy is based on the work, right? And so the only way I have that is, and further from my father, and am able to further my father's legacy is through continuing the work. And so I look at it through the economic lens. And so while, reparations is important, and I understand there are movements that I think are great that are on the municipal and state levels, true reparations, as I talk about in the book with two of the foremost experts on reparations are Derek Hamilton and Sandy Darity of Duke.
Sure.
We talk about it and the need for it to come from the federal level. And I fundamentally believe that. And then the second thing, when we talk about economic justice and relieving and alleviating the burden on the least among us in society, is the platform that Bernie Sanders and AOC have taken up. And I was there for the conversation that my father, or Bernie Sanders had with my father, I should say, about Medicare for all and how much that would save the American people, specifically Black and brown people and poor folks, if they had universal health care. So when I think of my father's legislative history, I think of reparations, but I think, because that is so race specific, I also think about Medicare for all. And I understand that Bernie has become the face of that, but that is 100% John Conyers Jr.'s legislation. Like, it's a facsimile of the one that he introduced in 2003.
Yep. Tell me the ways in which you see Detroit, the city of Detroit, shaping your father. Clearly, Detroit is a character in his story, a major character in his story, and Detroit has shaped so many Black American icons in music, the arts, in sport, in politics, in every field of human endeavor. There are great African Americans out of Detroit who were shaped, of course, by that city. Talk to me about the way, in fact, Detroit shapes John Conyers Jr.
Well, I think iron sharpens iron, right? Yeah. And when I think about my father and how Detroit shaped him, like his classmate was Berry Gordy, right? Like they were literally like, not like the same year in high school. They were literally Northwestern High School, which if you knew my father, if you were in Detroit, right? My dad loved Kappa. So if you were outside of the city of Detroit, he was always talking about Kappa this, and he loved Wayne State where he went to college. But Detroit is where did you go to high school place? Like I graduated from Renaissance High School. My father and Berry Gordy both came out of Northwestern High School. Yeah. They were born the same year. And so I think about that type of that presence and that closeness, my godfather, the Judge Damon Keith was one of his dear friends.
Oh yeah.
Right. So when I think about my father and how Detroit shaped him, you think about Coleman Young, who was my little brother's godfather. Like when you think about all those people that you're in proximity to and you're working with on a regular basis, like I think about that when I think about Detroit and how it molded and shaped my father. Like that time, right, where there's still so much striving. I mean, it's present today, but it's so much different when you're on the forefront, when you're Magic and Bird, when you're Michael Jordan, when you're shaping the face of something, right? And how it is going to, however it takes shape in the world, you are so responsible, had so much in that. That's how I think about Detroit. and how it shaped my father.
Now, I laughed, John, when you were talking about Detroit as a high school town. It is indeed. I have for decades, and I still, just as a conversation starter, when I meet anybody black from Detroit, my first question is Cass or King? And it makes and they laugh heartily. Now, of course, there are more answers to that question as you just intimated than Cass or King. But that's always my first question to any Negro I meet from Detroit: Cass or King? And the conversation starts from there. It is a high school town, and I was tickled when you made that particular reference. Let me just ask you this. You were mentioning these names, and they're giants in Detroit, and we could add to that list, of course. There is, as you mentioned, Coleman Young, and there is Damon Keith, and I could do this all day long in every field of human endeavor. Again, you've got all kind of greats coming out of Detroit. Barry Gordy, you mentioned, et cetera, et cetera. Did you and your father ever talk about, I'm curious, I never had a chance to ask him this particular question in many of our conversations. Did you ever talk about how he processed the downfall, the downturn, not downfall, downturn's a better word, the downturn of the city that he loved and gave his life to? Detroit is now back, as we know, thankfully, on the upswing in a variety of ways. But your father was there during Detroit's heyday, but he was also there, lived long enough to see the sort of downturn in this city. And again, now the city is bouncing back. How did your dad process the downturn of Detroit?
That's a good question. And that's probably I'm sure there are other questions I didn't ask my father, but that's a phenomenal question that I never asked my father.
Wow. Yeah.
And now that you think of it, I can glean,
I
can glean what he would say and how he would think about it, just based on all the conversations that I've had with him over the years. I think, from my father's perspective, obviously he loved Detroit, so much so that, I think I remember like one vacation in my entire life where he was like out of town and just like on vacation with the family.
Yeah.
But from his perspective, I think all of this stuff, because he saw so much, right? My father, and he had me so late in life.
Yeah.
I think the answer from John Conyers from 35, right, to when he had me, or even, probably when he had me, to the John Conyers from 61 until he passed away, would probably be different. I think if you ask the younger John Conyers, he would, he'd probably be frustrated and disappointed. I think my father very much subscribed to, like, there is a blueprint for success. Whether you like it or not, you do those things and you're going to have a better chance of, putting numbers on the board.
Yeah.
I think if you ask the John Conyers that I got to know, and I had the honor of, having for, 28 years of my life, he's probably much more even-keeled and talks about it and frames it from a perspective of, life is ups and downs, ebbs and flows. And we have to continue. We have to show up every day, right?
Yeah.
He always used to say to me, right, because like I was a kid who my room was always messy, right, and my mom would always be on my behind about it. Is that he, in trying to keep his wife even keeled and not have her lose her temper on me and get whatever comes with that. He would always tell me, little by little, day by day. So when you go clean up your room, you just pick up as much energy as you have, pick up a little bit. And you do a little more the next day. And I think that's how he would feel and address, like, okay, well, if education's a problem, how do we address education in the city of Detroit? Right. Let's focus on that. And then we go to the next thing and we fix it little by little, day by day.
Yeah. I hear that. You mentioned Barry Gordy earlier and how John Conyers Jr. and Barry Gordy were classmates. Barry Gordy, of course, just celebrated his 95th birthday. As a matter of fact, if you haven't seen it, you should Google it. It's actually very cool. Tracy Ellis Ross posted it, as did others. But they showed some footage of Barry Gordy's 95th birthday, and he walked in dancing. 95 years of age. And the chairman, as I call him, Mr. Chairman, walked in dancing at his 95th birthday party. So, again, happy belated birthday, 95th, to the founder of Motown, Barry Gordy. But Barry Gordy and John Conyers Jr., as you heard John Conyers III say, were classmates, which takes me into this conversation that I teed up earlier about how your father came to be such a lover of music. I said earlier, and I meant that, I saw your dad any number of times over the course of many years in his office in Washington, and I spent some good time with him at his office in Detroit. And I kid you not when I say that I never, ever, never walked into your dad's office when he wasn't playing music. And as you know, it wasn't playing softly. He had that thing too. It was the turn up every time you walked into John Conyers' office. Where did this love of jazz music, this love of music come from?
He was a musician.
Yeah.
My father was a musician. He was he played the trumpet, he played the upright bass, he played the drums, and he played the piano. And so, I mean, at his funeral, that was a thing that, he because my family, my family, when my father was a child, they didn't have the money to get him his varsity letter, right? He was a varsity athlete, but he cared more about being a varsity letterman in the band. And he never got his varsity letter for band. And so that was presented to us, the family, at his funeral. But like that's where the love of music came from, is that, and I think we all have to make decisions, right? As you get older, you may love something, but you can only afford to pursue it for so long. So he was in a quartet for a time, and he just wasn't making enough money, and he realized he made a business decision, like, I love this, but I can't provide for a family with this. I can't do the life I want to have for myself. I just can't do that with the money I'm making as a trumpet player. And so that's when things change. But I mean, he was a musician through and through. Yep.
What did your dad share with you about his being there as one of the founders of the Congressional Black Caucus? We think of this organization as having always been there because we talk to them, the members, and we talk about them and the work they're doing all the time. But the Congressional Black Caucus did not always exist. Your father, one of the founding members, say a quick word about that.
Oh, it was everything to him to be a part of that and to create that. I think. What I appreciate about my father is his ability to see what's needed and just go out and do it. Mm-hmm. There was not a matter of, I mean, he would build consensus, but like, even if such a blessing to have some of his papers, discover so much about him through the writing process, but just seeing how he talked about, and I'm gonna relate this back to the Congressional Black Caucus, but seeing how he talked about the impact of poverty on crime, right? And understanding and writing about that and doing the work in 1970, I think the article is from 71, and to relate that back to the CBC, understanding that if we are going to have legislative progress and move and help to move Black people forward in this country, then we have to have a caucus whose sole focus is considering the needs and addressing the needs of Black people through legislation. And so for him, that was one of his proudest moments. I think one of the things that is also my responsibility, right? Because I am 100%, as much as I am my father's son, I'm a generational bridge. And so one of the things that is vitally important is making sure that people understand that, like, my dad didn't get to be very outspoken pro-Black. Everything had to be through actions, right? He couldn't, he was watching his friends get cut down left and right, right? And so for him to continue to do the work, my amazement comes in seeing him be able to do the work for 53 years and kind of just fly under the radar while being extremely pro-Black, by whether it's Humphrey Hawkins' full employment, championing reparations, Medicare for all. Those are the things, when I look at the CBC and I look at all these things, that's what I'm super, super proud of with my father. Sorry to be long.
No, not a problem at all. I got a tight 2 minutes here, and I want to close on this note because I teed this up as well earlier. What I did not mention, and I want to be hastened to share with you, that one of the things you'll discover in this book, if you know John Conyers as I did, you already knew this, but he is the first person to introduce a bill to make Dr. King's birthday a legal holiday. We celebrate it every year, but it was John Conyers Jr. who first introduced the bill to make Dr. King's birthday a legal holiday. And speaking of Dr. King, in the 90 seconds I have left, how cool is it that your father had working for him every day Rosa Parks?
That was amazing. But the only reason it happened is because no one wanted to give her a job.
That's
right?
Exactly right.
And it's still the same thing today, right? And so, folks, when you are the person that goes first, and I'm gonna be as quick as possible. When you're the person that goes first, and you have kind of that stain on your name because you were a troublemaker, no one wants to help. They keep you at a distance, and so that's just not who my father was. And so, my father tells a story all the time. It's on, you can find videos of it, but I'll tell it here. When he first got elected and Miss Parks was working for him, people didn't call to talk to him they were calling because they knew Rosa Parks worked for my father, and they wanted to get Rosa Parks on the phone. And that he was like, I'm happy to have, if people know me for having Rosa Parks in my office, that's a blessing, and I will take it.
Yeah, no, it's a great story, man. And I am just so grateful. I got goosebumps as you were talking. I'm just grateful to have lived long enough and been in spaces to meet and eventually become friends with your father, John Conyers Jr., and Mrs. Rosa Parks, a dear friend of mine. I just counted a joy that I've had these experiences in my life. And so I'm just delighted that we had these 30 minutes to celebrate the grand legacy. Oh, my pleasure, man. The grand legacy of your father, John Conyers Jr. The book is called My Father's House, and I've been delighted to have been in conversation about the great John Conyers Jr. with his son, John Conyers III. Congrats on the text, man. Good to have you on this program.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Testimony is back underway in Sean Diddy Combs' sex crimes trial in New York. His former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, took the stand and told the jury she suffered physical abuse from Combs during their 10-year relationship. Yesterday, the prosecution played a video of Ventura being beaten up by Combs in a hotel hallway in 2016. Combs is accused of forcing victims to take part in drug and sex-fueled parties over a 2-decade span and faces life in prison for sex trafficking and other charges. Defense lawyers say no crimes were committed and that alleged victims are only after money. Governor Brian Kemp signed a bill last week that bars state funds for gender-affirming care for most transgender inmates in Georgia, including surgeries and hormone therapies. Critics call it political theater and discrimination. And the annual inflation rate is at its lowest since February 2021. It dropped to 2.3% last month. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and more for a child in poverty. And there are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year and their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
After all of the grief the Dallas Mavericks went through for trading Luka Doncic to the Lakers, the Mavericks got what they needed to light up their franchise. The Mavericks won the NBA lottery Monday night to get the number 1 pick in the draft. The Mavericks had only a 1.8% chance to win the number 1 pick. Duke forward Cooper Flagg, the College Player of the Year, is the consensus number 1 pick. The NBA draft is June 25th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. 3 teams in the NBA playoffs have 3-1 leads in the best-of-7 semifinals: Minnesota, Indiana, and New York. Indiana can eliminate Cleveland tonight with a win. Cleveland is the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The other Game 5 tonight is Denver at Oklahoma City. That series is tied at 2-2. Wednesday night, a win by the New York Knicks sends them to the Eastern Conference Finals. A win by Minnesota sends them to the finals in the West. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God!
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this. Let's get it on!
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There'll be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is Resilience in the Face of Chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, delighted to have you with us for this conversation. Did you know that the hit song La Bamba, originally recorded by Ritchie Valens, had roots in African communities in Mexico? And for that matter, how did this hit song, La Bamba, become an anti-racist protest song in Charlottesville, Virginia back in 2017? We, of course, all remember Charlottesville, remember Donald Trump. There's good folk on both sides. That's the Charlottesville protest of 2017. Delighted to welcome in studio musician Quetzal Flores to talk about La Bamba. And today just happens to be the birthday of Ritchie Valens. Quetzal, good to see you. How are you, sir?
Hey, brother. Good to see you.
It's good to have you. In studio. Thanks for the time. First of all, I just want to start with an ode, a tribute to Ritchie Valens. Many of us love that movie La Bamba. It's one of my favorite movies. And when I think about Ritchie Valens, of course, I think about that movie that told his story. These movies are Hollywood productions. They're never perfect, of course, in their depictions. But what say you about Ritchie Valens on his birthday as portrayed by Lou Diamond Phillips in the movie La Bamba?
Yeah, I mean, well, Ritchie Valens, certainly as a practitioner of Chicano rock music, that is the tradition I come from.
Sure.
Ritchie Valens is an important figure. Ritchie Valens marks an opening, if you will, a pathway for us to articulate our lived reality as Mexican people growing up in community with black people here in Los Angeles in particular, in the Los Angeles area. And Ritchie Valens was no different. We're talking about the 1950s. Operation Wetback was in full force.
Yeah.
Not conditions unlike today, or conditions not unlike today.
Sure.
And so Ritchie, could have recorded whatever he wanted because he already had that hit, right? And so he could have recorded anything he wanted, but instead chose to affirm not just himself but an entire community, and to refuse the hate and the persecution, and to instead affirm humanity and affirm culture in these very important ways, mixing in African American tradition rock and roll, and the heroes of rock and roll, Sister Rosetta,
sure.
Little Richard, Chuck Berry, on and on and on, right? And putting that together with this this Mexican sound that also, dates back to what we're going to talk about, this important history around La Bamba.
And that song, you said a lot there that I want to unpack here, give you a chance to unpack. I'll get back to Operation Wetback in a second, put a pin in that. But Ritchie, to your point, put all of that in that song. He did not shy away from it, even in this period of Operation Wetback. And the track goes to the top of the charts then. What do you make of that in retrospect?
I mean, I say, to white supremacy, eat it.
Yeah.
Eat it.
Yeah.
Because, we our people, our communities are geniuses. We come up with amazing things. Like the history of popular music is rooted in the Black diaspora, and also, to that to a certain extent also, brown people are included in this. And so, I always see that moment less about the statistics around how many units it sold or whatnot, but more around the social impact and how. I remember somebody said it best when they said when the Big Bopper, Buddy Holly and Ritchie Valens died. When Big Bopper and Buddy Holly died, it was tragic.
Yeah.
Ritchie Valens dying for our community was devastating.
Yeah.
We didn't have.
That's all you had.
We didn't have a hero.
Exactly.
That was our hero.
I get it. Operation Wetback. I'm glad you put your finger on that, Quetzal, because you make a powerful point. Comparing Operation Wetback then to conditions not being quite different today. Talk about that comparison, if you will.
Yeah, you have
that contrast.
Yeah, you have these. There's been this exploitation of Chinese immigrants, of slavery. It's certainly probably the most important example, but also the Bracero program, all these worker programs, bringing all these people in, and then you have people crossing, these borders to come and because, in fact, their own place of origin has been so deeply impacted by systems of oppression, by capitalism, by U.S. imperialism, and so on and so forth, that they can no longer sustain themselves in their lands, and so have to come to the place that's exploiting their lands to be able to try to make a living, try to support a family, try to raise a family, whatever it is. And so now you have this perfect opportunity for the state, or in this case the federal government, to scapegoat these people and try to position this thing to be able to go for another land and money grab, and to once again pull the wool over the working people's eyes. Yeah,
we were talking earlier about speaking of money grab. We were talking earlier about the grift, the Donald Trump grift in this plane from Qatar. That this luxury plane he's preparing to receive. Never seen anything like this, but I digress on that. We discussed it earlier in the program. I don't even want to go back into it again. But I do want to talk about are the African roots of this hit song, La Bamba. We'll talk in a moment about the way it has become a protest song, and whether through slavery or segregation, which you mentioned earlier, and more, La Bamba has really been the sound of survival, if somebody put it that way, and I like that. The sound of survival is what La Bamba really is about. But the song has these African roots in Mexico. Tell me more, sir.
Yeah, so it's exciting because La Bamba is part of a tradition called the Son Jarocho. Okay, now the Son Jarocho is part of a larger set of traditions, the son tradition. Cuba has its son, Puerto Rico has its son, Mexico has tons of son traditions, and it kind of goes all wherever there were black, indigenous, and then the Spanish colonizer. And when we say Spanish colonizer, we're not just talking about Spanish people. We're talking about Spanish people that were colonized and influenced by North African people for 1,000 years. And so all of that North African culture is also coming into play. And so the son jarocho itself is from Veracruz, Mexico. Veracruz, Mexico was the main port where African people were forcefully brought into what is now known as Mexico, right? And so Veracruz has a deep and long history of Africanness. And the music that emerges from that is called son jarocho. Now, the word jarocho was part of the caste system. And it was the child of an African and indigenous person. Okay. Now, they took that and said, that's ours, and we're going to identify with that, and that's part of our culture and our resistance, And so the son jarocho emerges, and you have this practice of themes. Now, La Bamba is not a song. Mm-hmm. It's not considered a song in that tradition. It's considered a theme by which you perpetually narrate. Mm-hmm. And what you're narrating is, refusing that unlivable destiny. Yeah. Is narrating your daily thing that you need to get out in order to feel human again, and so on and so forth. And so La Bamba is certainly an important part. And then there's a fiesta, or a ritual celebration called the fandango. Mm-hmm. And fandango is also an African word. Bamba is an African word. These are all Bantu words that really have significant meaning in our culture. And so it is also the ritual where dance, music, and poetry is not separate. Yeah. And if you know anything about African diasporic cultures and traditional cultures in general, is that those things are not separate. The markets have created this separation of them. But the practice in community, it's always together. And so the fandango is where La Bamba is born and reborn over and over again.
That's why I love having Quetzal Flores in the studio. The next time you hear La Bamba, you're going to think of it a little differently when you hear it played again.
One last thing. I'm so sorry. Go ahead. So Veracruz is where one of the first free pueblos in the Americas emerges, and that is called Yanga. And Yanga, Gaspar Yanga, was this African man who freed himself and then freed a bunch of other people, indigenous and African people, and fought the Spanish back. And the Spaniards finally said, all right, we'll recognize you as a free pueblo if you just stop attacking us, and let us pass through so we can go on our trade routes. And so this was the first quilombo, the first free pueblo in the Americas that still exists today. Yeah. And the reason why slavery ended so much earlier in Mexico than it did here. Yep.
No. I love the backstory. Again, when you hear La Bamba from this day forward, you think of it just a little bit differently. We're celebrating La Bamba, not just the song, but the theme. Today just happens to be the birthday of Ritchie Valens, and I'm delighted to have Quetzal Flores in studio. When we come forward, we'll talk about how this song ends up becoming a protest song, indeed, at Charlottesville. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Tavis Smiley.
California to the Carolinas. Everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it! Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. Know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
So we now know the hit song La Bamba has African roots, and Quetzal Flores broke that thing down brilliantly. I learned so much, as I'm sure you did, about this song. Again, you'll never hear it quite the same now that you know the African roots of this song, and that La Bamba is not just a song, but it is a theme. And at the center of that thing is fight back. As we say around here all the time, when we fight, we win. And so no surprise that this community of our brown brothers and sisters celebrate a song about fight back. But again, it has its roots in African traditions. And so that's a beautiful thing. So I said a moment ago that I want to ask Quetzal Flores how this song, in fact, became a protest song through slavery, through segregation, through Operation Wetback, and what Donald Trump is putting us through even in real time. This song and this theme is really the sound of survival. I want to just play a short clip here of this song and how it showed up in Charlottesville back in 2017. Miles Lowe.
Counter-protesters are playing music over Michael Hill speaking.
So this is how you drown out a white supremacist. I got just a tight 60 seconds here. We'll continue when we come forward, Quetzal. What do you hear when you hear this song drowning out that white supremacist trying to talk?
Oh, it's lovely. And it's Los Lobos' version of the song, and their cover of the Ritchie Valens song. And those are my musical parents. And it's the most beautiful and perfect thing.
Yeah, I love it. That's how you drown out a white supremacist. So that this song, again, and this theme shows up when it needs to show up in Charlottesville to drown out this white supremacist who had no business spewing the hate that he was. But that's how you handle white supremacists. Just turn up La Bamba really, really loud. And Los Lobos did a great job on that track, man. Ritchie's song was amazing, top of the charts. But for the film, Los Lobos did an amazing job, and I love their version. Our remaining moments with Quetzal Flores when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward. BET and PBS, the Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR, the cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada. Member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? You may be able to reduce your risk by managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, being physically active, eating healthy, and exercising your mind. To learn more about AD, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention, and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Quetzal Flores. Just a few minutes left here in this hour, about 3 minutes to be exact. We were talking earlier about the Afro-Caribbean roots of the song and the theme, La Bamba. What impact have those roots had on your work as an artist, Quetzal?
Oh, tremendous impact. Again, without Black people, Chicano music does not exist. Yeah. And that goes for the Mexican influence in our music as well. Yeah. You know, there's a Black history in Mexico that is still largely unrecognized, unknown, unnarrated. And, you know, there's brothers like Anthony Gleaton, the photographer, rest in peace, ancestor now. But that brother documented Veracruz and Afro-Mexico incredibly way before it became like, you know, the third root discussion. Yeah. And these Fandango communities in Veracruz also were pushing this narrative really hard and claiming Africanness. And so it's been important for me. It's given me a way to also channel the ideas and things that I needed to talk about. And it's also given our community, the Chicano and Latino community, a mechanism to convene around the Fandango. And that's been the biggest thing. And so now there are Fandango communities all across the U.S., and so, you know, you and connected to those Fandango communities are community land trusts, are tons of organizing spaces, resources, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's been a very powerful tool for us.
For those of us who love the movie La Bamba and have always loved it and love it more now that we know its Afro-Caribbean roots, given that this is Ritchie Valens' birthday, what do you think his legacy is or should be for both Black and brown people?
Yeah,
I should say brown and Black people.
Sure, he's one of those bridges. Like I said, he is someone who was narrating these two cultures simultaneously and reminding us about the tremendous legacy and history of interconnectedness between us. They are not, you know, often parallel, but often intertwined, and that we have much more in common and much more to do with each other than we do, you know, what's being narrated out there in the media about like these divisions between these communities. Yeah. So like
the Black-Brown divide, as they call it. Okay, so I got 60 seconds left. Quetzal is a musician, of course, an artist himself. He just happened to bring his guitar with him. So I'm gonna give you give me a little something to close out this conversation.
I'll do one verse.
Okay, give me one verse.
En el bar que te vayas,
En el mar que te vayas iré contigo para ver cómo apoyas un palestino y allá arriba, allá arriba, allá arriba, allá arriba, allá arriba iré a los campos floridos, yo viajaré, yo viajaré, yo viajaré.
In 30 minutes, you heard Ritchie Valens' version, you heard the version from Los Lobos, and you heard Quetzal Flores' version, and I love it all. Quetzal, good to have you in this on this program and in the studio. Thank you for your time, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
We appreciate you. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Testimony is back underway in Sean Diddy Combs' sex crimes trial in New York. His former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, took the stand and told the jury she suffered physical abuse from Combs during their 10-year relationship. Yesterday, the prosecution played a video of Ventura being beaten up by Combs in a hotel hallway in 2016. Combs is accused of forcing victims to take part in drug and sex-fueled parties over a 2-decade span and faces life in prison for sex trafficking and other charges. Defense lawyers say no crimes were committed and that alleged victims are only after money. Governor Brian Kemp signed a bill last week that bars state funds for gender-affirming care for most transgender inmates in Georgia, including surgeries and hormone therapies. Critics call it political theater and discrimination. And the annual inflation rate is at its lowest since February 2021. It dropped to 2.3% last month. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
After all of the grief the Dallas Mavericks went through for trading Luka Doncic to the Lakers, the Mavericks got what they needed to light up their franchise. The Mavericks won the NBA lottery Monday night to get the number 1 pick in the draft. The Mavericks had only a 1.8% chance to win the number 1 pick. Duke forward Cooper Flagg, the College Player of the Year, is the consensus number 1 pick. The NBA draft is June 25th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. 3 teams in the NBA playoffs have 3-1 leads in the best-of-7 semifinals: Minnesota, Indiana, and New York. Indiana can eliminate Cleveland tonight with a win. Cleveland is the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The other Game 5 tonight is Denver at Oklahoma City. That series is tied at 2-2. Wednesday night, a win by the New York Knicks sends them to the Eastern Conference Finals. A win by Minnesota sends them to the finals in the West. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the flames subside, who ensures that the stories endure? At KBLA Talk 1580, we're committed to preserving the voices that shape our community. We know people have short memories, and as long as this Black Talk radio station is on the air, we will not let Altadena be forgotten. We are honored to announce that the Altadena Historical Society will officially archive our recent town hall, alongside every episode of Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr. This is the show of record, the definitive source for tracking Altadena's roots, resilience, recovery, and reunion. These stories will now live on for students, scholars, researchers, and journalists seeking truth and legacy in the months and years to come. Because history isn't just made, it's honored, it's recorded, and it's passed forward. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Happy 75th birthday to Stephen Morris today. Stevie's celebrating his 75th birthday. And in case he's listening, because Stevie does listen, and has called in a number of times and surprised me. It's funny when you're on the air talking, and your board op is telling you Stevie Wonder's on the phone. So anyway, happy 75th, if I can say it, 75th birthday to Stevie Wonder. The GOAT is celebrating his natal day today. So Stevie, we love you. There ain't nothing you can do about it, man. We just love you. Can you imagine your life? Imagine the soundtrack of your life without Stevie Wonder's music on it. I cannot. We are blessed to live in the era of one Stevie Wonder, Stephen Morris, and more blessed to have his music on the soundtrack of our lives. So we celebrate Stevie's 75th birthday today. We love you, Stevie. In this hour, two conversations. On the backside of this hour, a conversation about the next chapter in the love story of former incarcerated couple Fox and Rob. These Oscar-nominated storytellers are coming in studio today to talk about their new documentary, Time 2, Unfinished Business, and why being free is to free others. I look forward to welcoming Fox and Rob into this studio on the backside of this hour. We commenced this hour, though, in conversation with Mike Africa, grandnephew of Move founder John Africa, with reflections 40 years to the day after the bombing of Move headquarters in Philadelphia. Mike Africa's new book is called On a Move, Philadelphia's Notorious Bombing and a Native Son's Lifelong Battle for Justice. Before I get to Mike Africa, though, here's some sound from 40 years ago.
It started as an attempt to evict the radical group Move from their West Philadelphia home. It's turned into what Mayor Wilson Goode calls the worst possible case scenario.
What we have out there is war. And I knew from the very beginning that once we made that decision to go in there, it would in fact be war.
The confrontation began with gunfire just before 6 o'clock this morning. Hours later, the end began to unfold with the dropping of a bomb from a state police helicopter. And Monday, May 13th, 1985, became a day and a night Philadelphia will never forget.
Mike Africa, it's good to have you on this program, sir. How are you today?
I'm strong. Thank you for having me today, Mr. Smiley. I really appreciate being here right now.
No, it's my honor, man. Please call me Tavis. It's my honor to have you on this program. Let me just start with your thoughts. I don't even want to ask a question until you share your thoughts. I want to respect this day and what this day means. And again, commence this conversation by asking you just your thoughts. Take a minute or two just to share those, and I will follow you. We'll jump from there, sir.
My thoughts, I have a lot of thoughts. My thoughts are mostly with the children that perished, that died that day. 5 children. You know, these were not people that were strangers to me. These were people that I knew. These are kids that, you know, we played together. We ate food together. We cried together. We laughed together. And the fact that they were taken in such a violent way, such an unnecessary way, such a tragic way, that's really where my thoughts are.
Yeah.
And then with the adults too, you know, my family were people that tried to make a change, and for that change and maybe for some mistakes that they may have made, they suffered a price that was so punishment not fitting the crime.
Yeah.
You know, so my thoughts are with my family, but they're also with my community. And I am strong. But today is a very somber day.
Yeah, I can only imagine. For those who weren't around 40 years ago, and for those who may have been around and don't quite remember, for those who will Google Move after this conversation and learn more about what happened 40 years ago today, how would you, in your own words, describe what in fact did happen? It's one thing to hear a news account, and you heard that reporter refer to Move as a radical group. So the media has its own way of presenting these stories. But how would you describe what happened 40 years ago today?
I would say that members of the Move organization were fighting for the release of 9 of their imprisoned members, including my parents. And the city's response to their complaints was to drop a bomb on them. My parents were founding members of the organization. Their mission was to protect life, people, animals, and the environment. And they came across a very racist and very brutal police commissioner by the name of Frank Rizzo. Frank Rizzo then became the mayor and continued his brutality and racism in the city. He was known for attacking Black Panther Party members and anyone that he didn't like. The police they would attack. He would say things like break their heads. And so because of that collision, they clashed constantly. And on August 8th, 1978, 500 police officers came out to our family's home and they attacked our home because they said we had housing code violations. But the real thing is they wanted to stop this progressive and radical organization that was changing things. And they in their attack on us, they shot and killed. A police officer was shot and killed. And of course, my family was blamed. The judge that sentenced him to 100 years in jail, he admitted that he did not know who killed the officer. Wilson Good, who was the mayor of Philadelphia later on, he said he believed the officer was killed by friendly fire. None of that was enough to influence the system to release my parents. 5 weeks after my parents were arrested, I was born in a jail cell. And we've been fighting for freedom ever since. Hold that
thought. We'll pick that story up right there. 5 days after they were in prison, he was born in a jail cell. We'll pick the story up there when we come forward as we commemorate the bombing of the MOVE headquarters in the city of brotherly love 40 years ago today. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
The Comedy Connection series featuring KBLA's Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, and the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady. We're going to transform relationship disasters into stand-up material live at Inglewood's Miracle Theater on May 31st at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My clinical team will disclose all of your dating woes, while the alpha male of comedy, Ray Grady, has hand-selected supremely talented comedians to roast all of our tragic relationship choices. I dare you to bring your ex's phone number because Ray, he's going to text it live and the crowd will be sourcing emojis. Tickets are moving swiftly, so don't hesitate to grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before I diagnose your dating history as a pre-existing condition.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
40 acres in the mule, this is bigger than the music. You really about to do it? Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence.
Who among us doesn't like black music? But Kendrick is right. This moment is so much bigger than music. These are serious times. We've got serious problems, and we need serious people who understand that slogans are not solutions. When you want substantial and sober analysis about things that matter to you and the ones you love, this is where you turn. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580 and the California Black Chamber of Commerce invite you to the Small Business Development Workshop, How to Do Business with California Government, on Thursday, May 15th at Victory Park in Pasadena, 2575 Paloma Street. Get certified and register as a new bidder. Sell products and services to the state. Learn about pre-bid events and more, and it's all free. All you have to do is sign up at www.calbcc.org. That's www.calbcc.org. Registration for the Small Business Development Workshop, How to Do Business with California Government, begins at 9 a.m. and the workshop concludes at 1 p.m. on Thursday, Wednesday, May 15th at Victory Park in Pasadena, 2575 Paloma Street. This is a community call to action from the California Black Chamber of Commerce and KBLA Talk 1580. Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
Mike Africa Jr., you were saying, I hate to cut you off there, but you were saying that your parents were arrested and jailed, and then 5 weeks later you were born. Pick up that story right there for me, sir.
Yeah, 5 weeks later, I was born in a jail cell secretly. My mother did not trust the guards at the jail because, MOVE members were pregnant MOVE women, and MOVE women that had babies in the past had suffered abuses from the Philadelphia Police Department and the prison guards, where MOVE babies had mysteriously died or missing or whatever. So my mother, while she was pregnant, she gave birth to me in her jail cell and didn't tell anyone. And for a couple of days, it wasn't discovered until Janet Africa, one of her co-defendants, announced it in court, and to the dismay and the disbelief of the judge. And we've been fighting for freedom ever since, basically.
You're born in a jail cell 5 weeks after your parents are jailed, ostensibly for the murder of a police officer who was killed the day that 500 cops stormed this neighborhood in Philadelphia and killed people in the bombing of the MOVE headquarters. Just tell me a bit more about your childhood. You're born 5 weeks again into this jail cell that your mother's occupying, and your childhood then is what?
I loved my childhood in terms of my family life and the dynamic we had with each other, myself and the other kids. Because, there were 9 people in prison. So all of those people, or most of those people, had children too. Mm-hmm. So, we were homies, we were friends, and so we ate raw food together. We grew up together. And my grandmother and my aunts raised me. Mm-hmm. And, we did what MOVE people did. We exercised, we went to the parks, and we learned how to identify plants and medicinal foods, and that was what MOVE life was like for us, swimming in the lakes and the creeks in the area. And on May 13th, 1985, that all changed.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that 500 police, under the direction of Frank Rizzo, then the police chief, who went on later, to your point, to become mayor, they stormed this neighborhood. Just 500 police. That's a big number coming into this particular neighborhood and bombing these this MOVE headquarters. In retrospect, just unpack that number: 500 police storming this block.
Well, there are a lot of numbers that are extreme. Mm-hmm. A fire hose from a firefighter, from the deluge hoses that they use, they are powerful enough to shoot 10 stories high into the air. Mm-hmm. They can cut through brick walls. Firefighters are trained to never use them on buildings that they know people are inside of, because they can create a collapse. 3 of those were trained on MOVE's house, directly pointing and hitting MOVE members as they were in the basement. 3, 10,000 rounds of ammunition. According to the police, they said we ran out by 10 o'clock in the morning. So we had to send for more ammunition. 10,000 rounds of ammunition. And then how about the type of weapons they were shooting? 12-gauge shotgun, M16, M14, M1, 50 caliber machine gun, armor-piercing anti-tank gun, sniper rifles, Uzis, 9mm, Glock 9s. They had so many weapons, they really had an artillery for war. And then how about the number of years they gave the people when the people came out of the house? 100 years each. 100 years in jail each. The numbers are staggering all around. Yeah. But when you look at the accountability from the police that killed children, that bombed them, that melted their bodies as they tried to escape a burning house, the numbers are low. 0 police were ever seen or in handcuffs or in orange jumpsuits. When a person when a civilian kills somebody or even accused of killing somebody, they're in jail. It is not innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the police, they get away with murder.
Let me ask you. You mentioned Frank Rizzo's name earlier, and you mentioned the name of W. Wilson Good, of course, the black mayor at the time that the MOVE headquarters was bombed. I don't, again, need to or want to color this question at all. I don't need to, as I said. But just talk to me and describe for me, define for me, critique for me, as you will. First, Frank Rizzo, and then secondly, the black mayor, Wilson Good.
Frank Rizzo was an upfront, in-your-face, brutal Gestapo force leading type of mayor. He was the mayor that said the police department in Philadelphia could invade Cuba and win. He was the mayor who said, break their heads. You're dealing with criminals, barbarians. You're safer in the jungle. He was the mayor that stripped the Black Panther Party in the middle of the night, made them take all their clothes off at gunpoint because he wanted to harass them. Wilson Good, on the other hand, was odorless gas. He'd have you believing that he was on your side. He was the person who said that he knew that the MOVE members were innocent, but he was only the managing director. If he became the mayor, he would try to help free them. And when he became the mayor, he didn't do anything. In fact, he did worse than Rizzo. Rizzo attacked MOVE members with his police, but he never dropped a bomb on them. Never did they suffer 10,000 rounds of ammunition. Never did they suffer a fire that burned 3 city blocks down to the ground. And when the fire is raging out of control, the police say, let the fire burn, knowing people are inside of. So you had 2 different types of approaches, and one was certainly worse than the other, but they were both very dangerous for the citizens of Philadelphia, and especially for MOVE members.
What did this incident do? How would you frame the legacy of Wilson Good as mayor of the city of Philadelphia, given what he did with MOVE headquarters?
Wilson Good will always be remembered for the mayor who dropped the bomb.
Yeah.
He will always be remembered for the black man that dropped the bomb on black people. The only time, with all the unrest in the American country, with all the years of protesting and attack dogs biting people in the civil rights movement, with the Malcolm X's being assassinated, with the Dr. Kings being South Africa studied American racism to create apartheid. That's how dangerous this country is. And Wilson Good, with all that violence in America, Wilson Good is the only person, the only official that ever presided over a police department that dropped a bomb on citizens, his own people. I think that's what he will be remembered for the most. When they write about him in the newspapers in Philadelphia, sometimes they put a flame emoji next to his face.
I am curious, Mike Africa Jr., how this anniversary, this commemoration 40 years later, the bombing of MOVE headquarters in Philadelphia, how's it being regarded, remembered today in Philadelphia? We're heard in different markets, of course, different times, and I'm pleased to be heard on WURD right now in Philadelphia. But how is this day being remembered or not in Philadelphia?
A lot of people from Philadelphia have mixed feelings about the MOVE organization and the history. A lot of people feel like MOVE got what they deserved, or they were asking for it. They poked the bear. But there's a lot of other people that believe that MOVE, they were fighting for something that was right, and they had, no matter what they did, they didn't deserve what happened to them. And so I think the majority of people would agree that a bomb should have never been dropped. Children should have never been killed. But I think the other portion of the people understand that when you're dealing with a system of this type of brutality, this is the kind of result you can expect. People will be attacked for protesting. You could write a book that supports diversity, equity, inclusion, and they will ban your book. You can write a book about critical race theory, and they will ban your book. They don't want you telling the truth. So, and MOVE was a very forceful group. So, a lot of people in Philadelphia feels like MOVE could have done their message. Most people think it was a good message. They could have done it in a different way to get their point across a little better. I think MOVE members feel like they've tried everything. They've exhausted every appeal, and they couldn't get any results, and their level of frustration was so high, they reacted.
Yeah. Mike Africa Jr. a moment ago said that you could write a book. Indeed, he did write a book. It's called On a Move, Philadelphia's Notorious Bombing and a Native Son's Lifelong Battle for Justice. And I'm pleased to have him on this program for the next 4 or 5 minutes here as we continue this conversation about what happened to MOVE headquarters. Wilson Goode, the black mayor, dropping a bomb on this headquarters 40 years ago today. And, of course, many lives were lost in that process. And jail sentences, prison sentences followed. And as you heard earlier, or in case you just tuned in, Mike Africa Jr. himself was born in a prison cell 5 weeks after his mother was sent to that cell because of what happened the day of this bombing when a police officer was killed. And as he put it, his parents were in fact blamed for that. I'm curious as to how, Mike Africa Jr., you'd respond to those persons. And I love, let me just say this, I love your transparency. I love your openness. I love when I asked you this question, you gave me a frank answer. When I asked you how this is being remembered in Philadelphia today, you said there's some people that think MOVE got what they deserved, that they had it coming, that they poked the bear. I love the veracity, the honesty of your response to that particular question, which leads me to ask very quickly here how you, in fact, would respond to those who feel that way, even 40 years later, that MOVE poked the bear.
Yeah, people have different perspectives. Some people think if somebody punches you in the face, not you, if someone punches someone in the face, some people think responding to that with a punch is violence.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Yeah.
I think it's self-defense. And I think violence and self-defense are two very different things. And I think that other people will have a different perspective. So I think perspective is important. The white people feel like MOVE is rowdy. The black people feel like MOVE is right on point. But the Cosby Show black people, they feel like you're an embarrassment to black people. So you have different, it's a different, you got vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. You know what I mean? It's a whole thing. My thing is, I don't really blame the people for having their perspective. I would just like to show them an example of positivity. My parents spent 40 years in prison. I was 13 years old when I started working on their case. I have a 6th grade education. I dropped out of school when I was a kid, and I started working on that case. And, after 40 years of working, I was successful. And, I shouldn't have had to do that. I should have had a normal childhood. But because of an injustice, so the people that say, we're wrong, we should, MOVE was wrong, whatever.
Yeah.
I really don't pay attention to that. I just have to keep on moving forward and try to show people a good, positive example.
Yeah. I've got 2 minutes left in this conversation, which I'm grateful to have had with you, Mike Africa Jr. Let me offer this, I think, as the exit question and give you these 90 seconds to respond as you will. There are any number of cities that come to mind that have had to come to terms with horrific incidents that happened, that took place in their cities. I'm thinking of Dallas, where they killed JFK. I'm thinking, of course, of Memphis, where they killed MLK. And I'm just curious as to whether or not, in your mind, or the city of Philadelphia has ever come to terms or has yet to come to terms with what happened 40 years ago today.
Jamie Gaultier is a council member for Philadelphia, and she and I worked very closely together to make May 13th an annual holiday. So just this past May 8th, and we announced that the Day of Remembrance, the MOVE Day of Remembrance, is official now in Philadelphia. And so that was something that we were able to do. We got that done just a week ago. But that wasn't done because the city of Philadelphia felt any kind of remorse. That was done because there was an immense pressure because of the killing of George Floyd, because of the killing of Breonna Taylor, the worldwide pressure to make changes in these institutions and these officials. So, John Africa used to say the system is controlled by pressure. And we have to keep the pressure on if we're going to make any change.
The book is called On a Move, Philadelphia's Notorious Bombing and a Native Son's Lifelong Battle for Justice. The author of that text has been our guest in this first half hour of this final hour of today's program.
Yes.
His name is Mike Africa Jr., the grandnephew of Move founder John Africa. It was a dark day 40 years ago, and the city of Philadelphia at some point really does need to come to terms with what happened 40 years ago today. But I'm delighted, under sad circumstances, but delighted, Mike, to have had you on this program. Thank you for your insights, man. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Listen, follow me on social media at Mike Africa Jr., and you can get my book at MikeAfricaJr.com. Thank you for having me on the show, Tavis. I appreciate
It's good to have you on, brother. You stay strong. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The White House blames the Biden administration for outdated equipment at the Newark Airport in New Jersey, calling it dangerous.
The outage also interrupted the phone line and radio frequencies for a very short period. This is how controllers talk to pilots. We're using equipment that looks like it's off the Apollo 13 sat.
That was Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. He criticized former head Pete Buttigieg for ignoring telecommunications issues. The Episcopal Church is ending its 4-decade refugee resettlement deal with the federal government. They are citing moral opposition to resettling white Afrikaners from South Africa, classified as refugees by the Trump administration. And rapper Tory Lanez is recovering after being stabbed 14 times in prison while serving 10 years for shooting rapper Meg Thee Stallion. He was hospitalized in Bakersfield, California. Lanez and Megan are still in court over accusations of cyberstalking and smear campaigns. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Think It Up is an initiative to activate student-powered, teacher-led learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Is this the better?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
After all of the grief the Dallas Mavericks went through for trading Luka Doncic to the Lakers, the Mavericks got what they needed to light up their franchise. The Mavericks won the NBA lottery Monday night to get the number 1 pick in the draft. The Mavericks had only a 1.8% chance to win the number 1 pick. Duke forward Cooper Flagg, the College Player of the Year, is the consensus number 1 pick. The NBA draft is June 25th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. 3 teams in the NBA playoffs have 3-1 leads in the best-of-7 semifinals: Minnesota, Indiana, and New York. Indiana can eliminate Cleveland tonight with a win. Cleveland is the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. The other Game 5 tonight is Denver at Oklahoma City. That series is tied at 2-2. Wednesday night, a win by the New York Knicks sends them to the Eastern Conference Finals. A win by Minnesota sends them to the finals in the West. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish. Minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order.
1 2 1 2 1 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this. Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA.
We love you. Love you.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
You are indeed, and what an amazing conversation. Somber, to say the least, but what an amazing conversation with Mike Africa Jr. as we commemorate 40 years since they bombed that move headquarters in the city of Philadelphia. And I thank Mike Africa Jr. for coming on this program to share that with us. Now, we close this program on a far different note, and I'm delighted to have them in studio. A conversation about the next chapter in the love story, and I love a love story. Who doesn't? A former incarcerated couple, Fox and Rob. I just love calling them by those names, Fox and Rob. These Oscar-nominated storytellers are in studio to talk about their new documentary, Time 2, Unfinished Business, and why being free is to free others. Before I commence the conversation with Fox and Rob, here now the trailer for Time 2, Unfinished Business.
If it wouldn't have happened to us, we never would have believed it.
Dear God, thank you for this day. For another opportunity to be able to get it right. Another opportunity to be of service to someone in need.
I had so much to say before I started. I don't even know where to begin.
I walked out of Angola State Penitentiary. I kissed and held my wife unrestricted for the first time in 21 years. But my heart was heavy as I was forced to leave my nephew and fall partner behind.
Here
Here are the nominees for documentary feature.
Time. We will not be denied. We will be heard.
It became clear to me in that very moment that to be free is to free others.
And the work continues, nephew. Whether it's today or tomorrow, you coming home. Big bills that we need passed this legislative session.
This time the board has denied Smith.
The crowd that I heard talking about the loss of Alton Sterling. Yes. I know that crowd. Yes. You know that crowd. Yes. And we know it all too well. Yes. This is the beginning of what is to come.
The problem is the system.
We have nothing to lose but our change. We have nothing to lose but our change. It is our duty to win. To win. To win. To win. To win.
Fox and Rob, I love you both. Good to have you in studio. Rob, how are you, sir?
Man, doing exceptionally well, Tavis. Thanks for asking.
Hey, it's good to see you and your handsome visage. Fox, how are you, darling?
Oh, listen, we are here at KBLA. How can it be any better?
Oh, I'm glad to see you both. Glad to see you both. Let me, for those who don't, and I want to make the most of these 25 minutes that we have here. Let's move through this swiftly. For those who did not see the original film, the Oscar-nominated documentary, so congrats again on that. That's high cotton, as we say around here, right? Fox, just top line what the first film was about.
The first film was about our 21-year journey as a family to free my husband, who had been excessively sentenced in the state of Louisiana. We had been condemned to die for a financial crime in prison. And so I served my time after taking a plea deal, and then would spend almost the next 18 years after my return home from prison fighting for him. And so in my effort to resist what the state had sanctioned against us, I began to film our journey. The first few years was just about me being able to document for him. But by the time we made it to a decade, it was to document because I knew I had to one day tell this story to somebody, somehow, some way. And so my archive footage over 21 years would be joined in collection with the director on that first project with what she had shot over a couple of years, and to be a New York Times op doc. And that collection would ultimately become a full feature film with that archive footage, and it would go on to be the most honored documentary of 2020, coming out shortly after the murder of George Floyd, and as a part of the largest social uprising that we have seen in our world.
Yeah, and Rob, just top line for me what that crime was that Fox alluded to.
Well, in 1997, our family business was threatened by financial loss, and in our efforts to try to regain financial solvency, we had the harebrained scheme of wanting to regain that financial solvency, and we done so by robbing a bank. Subsequently, I was arrested, I was tried, I was convicted, and then sentenced to a 60-year sentence, my nephew to a 45-year sentence, and my wife to a 19-year sentence, respectively.
Yeah. But the robbing the bank is just that's one way to put it, but nobody's killed in the process.
Exactly.
Tell me the rest of the story. I mean, so it's not just, you can say robbing the bank, but it's not as, I'm trying to find the right word here. It's not as sinister as it sounds the way you said it. So tell me the rest of the story.
Yes, indeed. We had started out, Fox and I, as high school sweethearts, and after 10 years of an on-again, off-again relationship, 2 years following the Million Man March, I set out to get my act in order, and go home and claim my wife and start a business and raise a family. To that end, we thought that we would open up what was our city of Shreveport. It would be our city's first hip hop clothing store, and we did all the things. We went out, we went to Vegas, did all the shopping at the Magic, brought ourselves back, and when we brought back, we closed on our home, and then equally that same week, we had closed on a business that would be the location for our family's first business. A person that was going to finance the operation ended up pulling out on us, and just when I thought that things couldn't get no worse, I had a son, one of my 6 sons. that had taken ill, and he was diagnosed with some things that doctors could not figure out in that moment. And as they say, the old saying says that when you're desperate, you do desperate things.
Yeah.
And in an act of desperation, I had a lapse in judgment, and as a result of it, I committed arguably one of the most challenging decisions of my life.
But as we learned in the first document, you basically changed your mind in the process of robbing the bank, though.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So just, with all of those things, you go back on it, and even coming out of that scenario, I realized that even, in going in, that this was so much bigger than me. It was bigger than the bank robbery. It was bigger than the sanctions that had been handed down by the court actors. This was really a call from God, I believe, in order to walk a walk, go through a journey, experience a certain thing, and then live to tell about it. Very seldom, especially in this day and time, do we get an opportunity to sit down with someone who has actually experienced slavery. Because, we tend to not talk about it that way. We think slavery is something that ended hundreds of years ago, but as long as the 13th Amendment or the exception clause of the 13th Amendment exists, if you're duly convicted of a crime, you go back 400 years into slavery. And I did my slavery on the plantation at Angola State Penitentiary in Louisiana.
I got less than 2 minutes here, Fox. We'll continue when we come forward, but I want to just bring the story full circle as I push toward time to unfinished business. You're sitting in the studio, obviously, because both of y'all eventually got out. You served a far lesser time than Rob did, and you got out and then went to work getting Rob out. Tell me how you got him out in 90 seconds.
Clemency. After trying every other option that was available to us, we were fighting 5 different legal battles all at the same time, and for almost a decade. And I met some women that introduced me to the concept of clemency, that they had been successful through the National Council of formerly incarcerated women and girls. After meeting those women, I believe that if they could reach the president for clemency, then certainly I should be able to reach our governor for clemency for my family. And we went in pursuit of that, and it took us 4 years from the conception of it to actually bring him home. But we made it happen.
Made it happen, and here they are in studio now talking about not just the first documentary, but indeed the second one. It's called Time to Unfinished Business. That's just a quick recap of how we get to Time 2. But I encourage you if you haven't seen the documentary Time, you have to see it. It is an amazing love story, and you know how this radio program works. I cannot do justice in a matter of minutes to an entire life story that Fox and Rob have to share. It is the most amazing love story, one of the most amazing love stories I've ever heard. And the minute I heard about it and came in contact with them, I reached out to them. We become the best of friends over the years, and I'm supporting them in every way I can with the push and the release of Time to Unfinished Business. But I encourage you. Where's it
Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
Amazon Prime Video. And they
go.
don't have to have a membership to watch. They can actually go to time2movie.com, and the link is there for Time Movie, so they can find it easily that way.
There you go. So that's Time, and I encourage you to watch that first. You know how these sequels go. You want to watch the first one first before you see the second one. So we'll talk about Time 2, Unfinished Business, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join the Children, Youth, and Family Collaborative, CYFC, for their 25th annual Foster Youth Awareness Walk on Saturday, May 17th at 8 a.m. at Susan Miller Dorsey High School, 3537 Farmdale Avenue in Los Angeles. This community-centered event brings together advocates, supporters, and youth to raise awareness and resources for foster care programs in the greater Los Angeles area. Please register at Eventbrite CYFC 25th Anniversary Walk. Congratulations to the Children, Youth, and Family Collaborative on their 25th Annual Foster Youth Awareness Walk. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a Black and Brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Fox and Rob, the former incarcerated couple, Oscar-nominated storytellers. The original documentary Time, again, streaming right now on Amazon. I encourage you to see that. But now, they're in studio today to talk about the new documentary Time 2 Unfinished Business, which, by the way, I am pleased to say, she's a quick study. Fox directs this. So it's not just she and Rob starring in it. She actually directs it. So she was paying attention on the first documentary that got Oscar nominated. She said, I think I can do this. So Time 2 is directed by Fox. So Ms. Director, tell me about Time 2 Unfinished Business.
Listen, I think sometimes it's not about whether you believe you can do something or not. You just determine that a thing must be done,
yeah.
and then you find the way. And that is my directorial debut with Time 2 Unfinished Business. I knew that this story, Tavis, was more important for me and my family to tell than the first one. And if I had been diligent enough to document over 21 years to contribute to the telling of the first one, then certainly I had to find a way in order to tell the second. The first one talked about our love journey and how we worked to bring Rob home. But for me, it did not go far enough to tell about how we brought him home. And for 2.3 million families that are directly impacted, serving time in prison, we need to know the how. How do we begin when we understand that the statistics have stated, not just us, not our cousin them, the studies have said that we sentence 5 times greater than our white counterparts for the same crimes, that in Louisiana alone, 85% of all the people serving life are black people, when we only make up less than 30% of the population in the state of Louisiana. When you take into consideration the injustice that has been documented to our people, then we have got to start looking at how then do we reclaim our loved ones from this system. And so I wanted people to be able to bear witness to how I reclaimed Rob, how we reclaimed our family from this system. And then what did we do after we got freedom? Those were the two most important parts of our story that I wanted to make sure that I could share with our community. And that's why I found a need to make sure that we could tell this story, Time 2 Unfinished Business.
There's a big event connected to Time 2 Unfinished Business happening on Juneteenth. I'll let Rob and Fox talk about that when we come forward. But I'm so into this project and supporting it that I've reached out to my friends and asked them to support it. And so many of my friends are supporting what we're going to tell you about when we come forward in our remaining moments, including Jesse Jackson Jr. and Cornell West and Van Jones and Ben Crump and Killer Mike and yours truly. We're all and others supporting what Fox and Rob are doing with this film, Time 2 Unfinished Business, that is. We'll tell you about what they're doing with it when we come forward in our remaining moments with Fox and Rob on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley. BET and PBS, The Tom Joyner Morning Show, and NPR. The cover of Jet and the cover of Time. #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, 20 honorary doctorate degrees, a dozen NAACP Image Awards, a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. From talk shows to talk radio, nobody's ever done it better. You like that? This is Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada. Member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. The Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Nia.
Hi, Nia. It's Jennifer. Did you know that Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, I work here.
Okay. I was just double checking. Get it?
Because Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, you get me, Nia.
You could say that I double get you.
I guess we've taken it too far.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
It does indeed. Our guests are Fox and Rob. Again, the former incarcerated couple, Oscar-nominated storytellers. An amazing love story as told in the original film, the original documentary, Time. Again, that documentary was Oscar-nominated and won all kind of awards that year. So now they're out with Time 2, Unfinished Business. And their mantra, which I support, is that to really be free is to free others. And that's exactly what they're doing right now. So, Rob, my time is getting tight. Tell me about what you guys are doing connected to Juneteenth and the film.
Oh, yes, indeed. Man, this Juneteenth is going to be something that is really, really huge. This is a moment for us to really do something significant on Juneteenth as it relates to freedom. We were thinking about the ideal time to really to release this film into the world, and the best way that we thought to release the film in the world would be to do it as an impact campaign. And I don't think that historically there's ever been anything this huge before, but we are endeavoring to get 1 million people watching this film and then taking the journey through one family story to freedom this Juneteenth, with everybody being able to watch through a live stream that is happening across the country, where they will be able to tune in, watch the film, and then engage in a conversation following the film about freedom, but freedom based upon the themes of the film. Oftentimes when we think about Juneteenth, or we think about Black History Month, a lot of times we think about it in the rearage, but very seldom do we think about it in this day and time. So what we're hopeful to do is to be able to put freedom back at the forefront of the conversation, of America's conversation, especially to address the concerns of those 2.3 million people that are continued incarcerated.
Got 90 seconds left. Fox, how do people tap into what's happening on Juneteenth?
Time2movie.com, Time2TWOmovie.com. You can register for the campaign there. And what's even like a caveat on top, because just doing good is not good enough for Rob and I. We want to do double good. For every person that registers for this campaign, Tavis, we are donating $1 to the Save the Amistad Research Center. Anybody that is familiar with the Amistad Research Center in New Orleans, it is the oldest, largest, most comprehensive collection of Black archive in our country that is independently held. So ain't nobody coming and throwing our stuff out of there. And that's why we are intentional about helping them. While we enlighten people on freedom, we are saying hands off of our history as well by supporting the Amistad Center for Research in New Orleans.
They tap in one more time. How now?
Time2TWOmovie.com, Time2movie.com. You can follow us on Fox and Rob on all social media platforms, and you can find the link there for the movie as well and all of the updates. And we encourage you to not only go there and register, but also think about hosting a watch party. Bring your cousins, them, your auntie, them together so that we can watch freedom unfold together and then have a conversation about how it is that we can continue to reclaim our family members from this unjust system.
My time is up. Fox and Rob, I love you both. Ain't nothing you can do about it. You already know that, though, right?
Love you back.
I just love you.
Yes.
Just like that, 3 hours gone. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith. Happy birthday, Stevie Wonder.
Yes.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The White House blames the Biden administration for outdated equipment at the Newark Airport in New Jersey, calling it dangerous.
The outage also interrupted the phone line and radio frequencies for a very short period. This is how controllers talk to pilots. We're using equipment that looks like it's off the Apollo 13 sat.
That was Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy. He criticized former head Pete Buttigieg for ignoring telecommunications issues. The Episcopal Church is ending its 4-decade refugee resettlement deal with the federal government. They are citing moral opposition to resettling white Afrikaners from South Africa, classified as refugees by the Trump administration. And rapper Tory Lanez is recovering after being stabbed 14 times in prison while serving 10 years for shooting rapper Meg